Hello, my name is Kaleo Nakoa. I'm running for City Council District 4. The District 4 runs from Makapu'u to pretty much the east side of Ala Moana. Little history about me. I'm born and raised Maui boy. Graduated high school in 2000. Joined the Coast Guard in 2000. And I retired from the Coast Guard with 20 years of honorable service in August 2020. My wife is still in the Coast Guard. She currently has 18 years. And she plans to retire from the Coast Guard. We have 4 kids, and that is why I'm running. You know, the future for Waikīkī, is the way it stands right now, is scary. We need to do what's right for our future. We need to do what's right for Waikīkī. We need to make sure that we leave a legacy behind for them and not trash. One of the things I stand for is keeping Hawaii safe. We need stricter laws in the school zones and the school areas. We need to make sure kids are safe when they're walking home. We need to also make sure that we keep Hawaii affordable. Selling out to these investors, outside investors, is what's overpricing Hawaii. So every local that's born and raised here, we're getting outpriced for people who just want to make this a vacation area. One of the things that we want to do is put in laws for investors so that when they buy here, they're not selling their $700,000 purchase for over $1.3 million a month later. One thing about me is I'm a straight talker. I'm not a smooth talker. So what I say may or may not hurt your feelings, but at least you know it's the truth. You know, I'm the worst politician. Out of everyone in this race, I'm the worst politician. But I am the best asset for our people, all our people, our keiki, our kupuna, and everything in between. I just want to thank you guys for this opportunity. Thank you guys for your trust in me. Thank you guys for supporting my family and I as we go through this journey, as we go through this learning process. But vote for me. You guys will make the right decision. I will always stand with you guys. I will stand beside you and even in front of you. I will not be behind a camera. I will not be behind a podium. If you guys have questions, I'm accessible, and I like to meet in person instead of behind the media. But thank you guys for your time and your support. Aloha.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Mark Jun Hashem. I want to start off by thanking my constituents for electing me as their state representative for over the last 10 years. I was first elected as state representative in 2011. And during that period, I managed to get some key funding for infrastructure projects for East Honolulu. For example, Kaiser High School, the girls' locker room, and the track and field. And for Kalani High School, I managed to get funding for the girls' locker room, the judo room, and this year in November, we're breaking ground on a new track and field for Kalani High School. Aina Haina Elementary, I was fortunate to get funding this year for a new parking lot on the Mauka side of the school. Currently, the teachers park on a gravel field. We're going to pave that over, landscape it, fence it in for safety. Also, my constituents remember the paving of Kalanianaole Highway. That was just completed roughly 4 years ago. Going forward, this year I was fortunate enough to get funding for the dredging and improving Mauna Lua Bay. Currently, the bay hasn't been dredged for over 10 years, for decades. And the boaters that launch out of Hawaii, their boats bottom out, they damage their gear, and it's an extreme boater safety issue. So once again, I want to thank my constituents for electing me as their state representative for over the last 10 years. And I once again ask you for your support in 2022. Mahalo.
Aloha. I'm Bert Kobayashi, candidate for State House District 20, which includes Diamond Head, Kahala, Kaimiki, and Kapuhulu. I was born in Honolulu, grew up in Kaimiki on a property which my grandfather bought over 100 years ago and where I live today. I went to public schools nearby, then the University of Hawaii, then Michigan State University for a PhD in political science. My first real job was assistant professor of government at American University in Washington, D.C. Then I returned to Hawaii and was a researcher and analyst in 3 different government jobs, most notably as Executive Secretary of the Governor's Commission on Population and the Hawaiian Future, which promoted quality growth, growth management. Very much the same issues as today, with need for growth management over tourism promotion and less over tourism. Then I won election to the State House of Representatives, where I served for 4 years, followed by 12 years in the State Senate. After 16 years in the legislature, I voluntarily retired from politics because the salary was too small to pay for my son's college education. I worked for 18 years outside of politics in various government and private sector jobs, the most important being Deputy Director of Health for community hospitals, which I reorganized into the most independent state agency to that date. In 2012, I returned to the State House and focused on money and health issues as before. In the legislature, committee assignments heavily determine focus, and I've served on the Money and Health Committees for most of my legislative career. In the money area, I'd like to emphasize and see continuation of savings to balance out the expenditure side of the budget. This year, we will see record high savings in rainy day funds of about $1 billion, and also an expected record high savings of $1.77 billion in carryover savings for fiscal year 2022. In the health area, I'd like to see reorganization of how we deal with mental health issues, particularly with the homeless. My achievements in the health area include Nursing Home Without Walls, which involves providing nursing care at home, not in an institutional setting. And also the Living Will Bill, which allows people to voluntarily refuse artificial means of extending life, such as no ventilators. For the homeless with mental health and substance abuse problems, I'd like to see more court-appointed guardians ad litem who will be responsible for and protect the well-being of homeless while assuring that they get mental health treatment. I see that my time is running short, so I'd like to thank Ōlelo for this opportunity to tell my story. Aloha and mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Jillian Anderson, and I am humbly seeking to represent beautiful Waikīkī, District 24, in our Hawaiʻi State House of Representatives. I know what you're probably thinking. She's young, and I've never seen her before. Well, in the next few minutes, let me share with you why I'm determined, eager, and ready to take on the challenges of representing our community's best interests in our Hawaiʻi State Legislature. I did not take the typical role of an aspiring politician. After moving to Waikīkī with my family at just 3 years old, I spent an amazing 13 years as a student of Sacred Hearts Academy. Following graduation, I was honored to attend and graduate summa cum laude from our University of Hawaii at Manoa, where I spent much of my 4 years studying at the Scheidler College of Business. There, I honed in on 3 focuses: entrepreneurship, marketing, and finance. I too possess a great interest in learning about our past, prompting a minor in history as well. Amid the rapid onset of the events of 2020, I, like many of you, became much more aware of our government, the role it plays in our society, and the immense abilities it has to remedy crises, from a global pandemic to our neighborhood complaints. I watched our leaders' daily press conferences bewildered that oftentimes their guess was as good as mine, despite the massive amount of resources dedicated for efforts such as what we had experienced. Like that of many of my neighbors, the last few years have been troubling. It feels like everywhere we turn, things just aren't right anymore. Hawaii has always been expensive, but how is it that we now need $1 million to buy a basic home, or $100 to fill up the gas tank, or $70 for a bag of essential groceries? Then, we are faced with a growing reduction in public safety. Our police force is understaffed. Our correctional facility is in severe disrepair and overcapacity. Meanwhile, vicious random attacks are on the rise, especially in Waikīkī. Our law-abiding residents are compelled to turn a blind eye to raging mental illness, addiction, and homelessness. Our daily commutes are scattered with tents, with the sheer number of those forced onto the streets reaching levels that are beyond heartbreaking. It's simply inhuman. The pandemic gave new light to how much tourism has permeated our communities. With the advent of social media, few places are left sacred for locals, causing a tipping point for our residents as it comes to living amongst a global tourism destination, as well as our fragile environment and ecosystems. Now, not spoken of nearly enough is our infrastructure. The Red Hill fuel crisis has brought attention to our delicate water supply, and the age of our core systems being far beyond the point of necessitating repairs. This September, our last coal-fired electrical power station is set to shutter, falling perfectly in line with the aspiration for our state to emit no carbon by 2045. But as far as the stability of our energy grid is concerned, there is serious question as if we are ready to rely so heavily on renewables. Then we have deteriorating roadways, aging school facilities, bridges and dams with serious structural concerns, and the list goes on. Yet, the backlog of must-dos is long, and the precariousness of just one of these many issues can spell disaster if we don't get to it in time. We've all heard the phrase, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. There is no reason for our state to bring truth to these words. This cannot become our status quo, nor even be a situation we are forced to live with for the time being. The very role of our leaders is to better the lives of our people, yet I am sure you can agree, our taxes are rising, our day-to-day costs are skyrocketing, though our quality of life seems to be on the decline. So, why am I running? It is because I want to stay in my home state and not need to sacrifice my financial freedom, personal safety, or quality of life to do so. I know our people deserve better, and we can get it too. We just need the right people in the room. We need not just visionaries, but realists. We need not just thinkers, but doers. We cannot just set long-term goals, but need to address our most pressing issues with the utmost of urgency. Having worked as a legislative analyst for our State House of Representatives, I have witnessed the inside of a world that functions much differently from any other entity. It is fast-paced, it is complex, but it is capable of so much good and so much change. And I am empowered to be the one to fight for this change. I would walk in our House chamber with the same perspective as my neighbors, focused on the things that need fixing now, and be ready to create real solutions. Not just talk about them, not just study them. The time is up for that. I hope my honesty has resonated with you. Please, learn more about me at jillianforhawaii.com. And when you get your ballot, please consider voting for Jillian Anderson for State House Representative for District 24. I would be beyond humble to have your trust, and will go forth with upright character, common sense, and an ironclad will to fight for the Hawaii we all know is possible. Mahalo.
Aloha, neighbor. My name is Ikaika M, and I'm running for the Hawaii State House of Representatives' newly formed District 24, which encompasses Waikīkī, Ala Moana, Makali, and Mo'iliili. I want to start off with a question. Do you feel safer now than you did 2 years ago? We'll come back to that in a minute. I'm a local boy born and raised in Kailua by my father, a Vietnam veteran and proud IBEW 1260 union member, and my mother, a former nurse at Castle Hospital. We lived a humble life by enjoying the many sights and activities that our island home provided us. I was heavy into sports and dreamed of one day becoming a physical therapist. But after 9/11, I felt a compelling need to serve our country. I made the choice to put my life on hold and went down to my local Army recruiting office to enlist. I went on to serve for 8 years as an infantryman, including 2 combat deployments to Iraq. After receiving my honorable discharge, I returned home and sought ways to work for our community. Soon after my return, I met my beautiful wife, Tracy. After a few years, we got married, purchased our first home here in Mo'iliili, and we're blessed with 2 healthy young boys, Alika, who is 4.5, and Tai, who just turned 3. I went on to obtain my bachelor's and master's degrees in psychology and began working with the homeless in our community with Waikīkī Health, and now in my current role as a Community Homeless Concerns Liaison with the Department of Education's Homeless Concerns Office. Over the last 6 years, I have worked intimately with our community's homeless population in various capacities, and I have developed a deep understanding of this very complicated issue. As is sometimes the nature of that world, I also have worked with criminals and developed a keen understanding as to why our community now has the highest crime rate on the island. So after learning about who I am, you may now be wondering, why am I running for office? And that answer is simple: public safety. As a husband and father to 2 active boys, we often sacrifice valuable family time at the parks or on walks due to the risk of running into trouble after the sun goes down. I've been out there talking to our neighbors in the community. They too choose to stay home after dark. The number one concern I've been hearing from our neighbors is safety, and our quality of life suffers because of it. This is an unacceptable way to live, especially here on these islands where it's so expensive to live. So I decided to sacrifice my time with my family to run for office. My primary focus is to make our community safer by getting tough on crime and addressing the homeless issue with experience-based real solutions. I proudly support the men and women of HPD and understand that they will play a key role in what I'm trying to accomplish. I've been honored with Shopo's endorsement because our officers know that I will support them and do whatever I can to help them make our community safer. So let's revisit my earlier question. Do you feel safer now than you did 2 years ago? Based on the input from our neighbors, the answer is likely no. We can and we must do better, and I will be the person to get the job done. I've served our country on the battlefield, I've served our country in the streets, and now I'm ready to take the next step. When your ballots arrive in the mail in the coming weeks, I want you to ask yourself that question before you make a decision. Then, I humbly ask for your confidence and support and vote for Ikaika M for State House. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on my personal cell. The number is 808-354-2311. Mahalo, take care, stay safe. Aloha.
Aloha. I want to begin by thanking my constituents for the honor of representing them as their state representative for the past 2 years. I'm a local boy born and raised in Hawaiʻi, the proud summer immigrants who came to Hawaii hoping for the American dream to work for them. We didn't have much growing up, but my parents taught me the value of an honest day's hard work. Eventually, I graduated from Howanji Mission School, then Kalani High School, and Penn State University. After graduating from college, I came back home to be closer with my family and to work in the family business. I eventually got involved with the legislature with a session job and worked my way up to becoming a manager, falling in love with public service. In 2020, I ran for office on a campaign of putting people over politics, and we won. I am grateful and honored to have the privilege of amplifying your voice at the legislature. Together, we were able to pass bills on homelessness, housing, crime, and environmental protection. At the same time, secure over $68 million in capital improvement projects that will go directly to benefiting the people of Waikīkī, Ala Moana, and Waiʻiliʻili. We also got some much needed funding for our community centers and nonprofit organizations making a difference in our neighborhoods. There are many people that are inspiring me to run for re-election, and one of them is Miss Jeannie Rice, a neighborhood advocate who saw a problem and rallied and organized the community to fix it. I know that the success of this office does not come from one individual, but all of us coming together to better our community and our state. I want to continue that work, and I humbly ask for your vote.